Before we start cooking, we're gonna wash our hands for 20 seconds or sing the alphabet. And this is to get the germs away. Make sure you wash your hands in hot soapy water. Okay, so before we start baking, we're gonna preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hi, my name is Natalie,
And I'm Olivia.
and we're going to be making cinnamon rolls today. And this is from the pasta and grain unit.
And the yeast spread unit.
Yesterday we had to make the yeast spread, and this is what it looks like. And we're just going to tell you how we made it. So we did take 2 packages of yeast and add warm milk to it, and we had to make sure that we had to level off the milk at eye level, so we had the exact amount.
The milk serves as calcium and structure, and the yeast is actually an enzyme. And it mixes with the milk molecules and breaks down into simple sugars. And then the carbon dioxide is trapped when we put a towel on top of it, so the bread just has to rise.
And then we added a half a cup of white sugar to this from the milk to the yeast. And then we added melted margarine and 2 eggs, and we had to make sure the eggs were room temperature.
The sugar just adds as flavor, and the butter is also flavor.
Then we added salt, half a teaspoon of salt.
Which is flavor also.
And then we had to use bread flour instead of regular flour. We had to add 4 cups to that, and then we had to add an additional half cup.
Bread flour gives gluten and fiber and protein. Okay, next step is to take a little flour and flour a nice clean part of your table or the board you are working on. Flip the bowl of dough onto it, and if you grease your pan well enough, it will just slide out right like that. And let it sit there for 10 minutes.
So now while we wait for the dough to wait for 10 minutes, we're going to take, how much cinnamon?
2 and 1.5 tablespoons
of ground cinnamon.
And then you take 1 cup of brown sugar, and make sure when you're taking the brown sugar, you pack it down.
Move it that way. Now we have the cinnamon, 2 and 1/2 tablespoons of the cinnamon
And 1 cup of brown packed sugar.
and we're gonna add it. And then we're gonna mix that together.
So, it's been 10 minutes, so now put some flour on your hands and on the rolling pin so the dough doesn't stick, and roll out the dough to a 9 by 13 rectangle.
Okay, now that we have all our dough rolled out to as much as we can to fit the 9 by
13 pan.
inch pan, we melt 1/3 cup of butter, and we're going to spread it all over the dough. Now that we've spread the butter evenly to the bread, we're going to take the cinnamon and brown sugar that we mixed, and we're going to put it on the dough. So I'm going to take like a spoon and kind of sprinkle it on there. I like to do it with clean hands. Now that we have the cinnamon and sugar and the butter on the dough, we're going to roll it up, kind of do it tightly a little bit.
Okay, now that we have the cinnamon and butter and brown sugar, and we rolled it all up, now cut it into 12 even
pieces to make it look like the cinnamon roll. Okay, so for the filling of the cinnamon rolls, the brown sugar adds sweetness, and then the cinnamon adds flavor, and the butter adds tenderness.
Now that we have put them in the pan, let them sit for 30 minutes and let them rise, and put a clean towel over them. Okay, now stick the cinnamon rolls into the oven for 15 minutes. Now when the cinnamon rolls are done cooking, put them in an airtight sealed container and stick them in the fridge.
It provides freshness, and they won't go bad and stuff.